This presentation, Backpacking for Scout Troops, has two goals. Yes, I'm promoting my new book, Backpacking for Scout Troops, but I am also looking to encourage Scout Troops to include more backpacking in their outdoor program. The book's subtitle asks you to step up to the challenges, the adventures, and the rewards. First, some background. My name is George Napoleon. I have been an adult Scout leader for 25 years now. In that time, I have not only promoted and supported troop backpacking with my home troop, but I've also done it at the district and council level. I wrote this book for three reasons. First, while I believe backpacking should be a critical part of every troop's outdoor program, it seems to be getting less and less popular. Less popular among scouts, less popular among some scout leaders, and especially less popular among scout parents. Second, I think a scout trek crew has unique characteristics, and a troop would benefit using a resource like my book that focuses on the kind of backpacking performed by a scout troop. Finally, it has been said, those who can do and those who can teach. I enjoyed and am proud of all the miles and nights I've spent on the trail backpacking with scouts over the years. However, now at the age of 78, I am no longer a doer. I decided the best way to embrace the teaching side is by leveraging all my experience into writing this book. The book is currently available on Amazon.com. Yes, youth scouts will enjoy the book and find its information very helpful. However, my main audience for this material has been adult leaders and scout parents. I hope to provide a complete tutorial on troop backpacking, so the reader could confidently plan, prepare, and execute safe and rewarding backpacking experience for their troop. When planning and preparing for a backpacking trek, the most important consideration is the makeup of the trek crew. A trek plan for one trek crew may not be appropriate for a different trek crew. So what is so special about a scout trek crew? It is likely the scout trek crew will be larger, with more participants and with diverse ability levels between the different scout ages and among the adult participants. The most important difference, I believe, will be with the scout crew's different rules, goals, and priorities. For example, there is too deep leadership requirement and the tent sharing restrictions. Scouting can add goals like advancement or merit badge requirements. Scouting adds an instructional priority to all troop activities, including backpacking. This highlights why I believe it is advantageous for scout trekkers to have a resource that is focused on troop backpacking. The book is 200 color pages long. Now let's review what are in those 12 chapters and 8 appendices. Chapter 1 is troop backpacking. What, who, why, and why not? This chapter looks to answer several questions regarding troop backpacking. The what is answered with a set of requirements for a camping trip to be considered a backpacking trek. Next is why. I believe backpacking is the critical element of every troop's outdoor program. This chapter also looks at some of the popular reasons many give for not backpacking. There is also a discussion of who in the troop, both scouts and adults, should consider troop backpacking. Chapter 2 is transitioning from car camping to backpacking. This chapter suggests transitional activities a troop can perform that will help them be better prepared for backpacking in the future. There are suggestions for the troop meetings as well as for car camping trips. These activities exposes the troop or individuals to backpacking tasks before ever going backpacking. They not only learn backpacking skills, but they get to know what to expect when they do go backpacking. Chapter 3 is packing goals and tools. This chapter highlights 5 key goals to strive for when you're packing for a backpacking trek. These goals are designed to see that everyone has the right gear and that gear is packed correctly. Tools are included in this chapter that can help satisfy these packing goals. The chapter also contains a discussion of pack weight and volume. Chapter 4 is critical big ticket items. This chapter looks at what I call big ticket items. These are the more expensive gear items. They are critical for the successful backpacking experience. One can and should take time to buying and preparing these gear items. Chapter 5 is personal gear. Most of the gear one brings on a backpacking trek will be used by them personally, so considered personal gear. Chapter 5 looks at all the personal gear brought on a backpacking trek other than those big ticket items we mentioned in Chapter 4. Much of the personal gear brought on a backpacking trek is the same personal gear brought on a regular camping trip. The focus in this chapter is on what is compatible with backpacking. Chapter 6 is group gear. Group gear is all that gear brought on a backpacking trek that is shared by multiple participants. Most group gear items are in the categories of food, kitchen, and shelter. Chapter 7 is goals and strategy for planning and preparing meals. This chapter reviews some goals and to keep in mind and strategies to use to successfully plan and prepare a backpacking meal plan. Chapter 8 is backpacking meals. This chapter looks at all the possible meals your troop will be eating during your trek, starting with that first trail lunch on day 1 and including all the lunches, all the dinners, breakfast, and even the snacks. Chapter 9 is how hard is the trek. This chapter addresses the key factors that, when combined, can determine the difficulty for each day of a trek. It is important for the trek planner to understand these elements and balance them against the ability and goals of the trek crew. Chapter 10 is trek plan and preparation. This chapter covers the different elements that need to be planned and prepared before a troop backpacking trek. Of course, the trek route has to be planned, but there are other additional elements, including the logistical issues such as sign-up, meals, and transportation. Chapter 11 is building experiences and accomplishing goals. This chapter covers the different examples of possible troop backpacking treks. The examples start with a very simple trek, with each subsequent example getting more and more challenging and adventurous. A troop could use experiences like these to build ability and confidence to eventually tackle a full backpacking high-venture challenge. Chapter 12 is backpacking in cold weather. Yes, it is feasible to backpack even during the winter. In fact, I encourage troops to see if this option will work for them. This chapter explores the various elements to consider if you are planning to backpack in cold weather. Let's look at the book's 8 appendices. The first is Appendix A, a backpacker's gear list. This is part of the backpacker's gear list included in Appendix A. It breaks the gear into categories such as trail, food, and shelter. It also indicates if the item is required, optional, or a group item. This gear list has been used successfully by my home troop. Use it as is or modify it to create your own. Appendix B is backpack fit and features. How to buy, fit, and pack an overnight backpack are covered in this appendix. Appendix C is sleep systems. It looks not only at the sleeping bag, but at the multitude of elements you can use to layer your protection against the cold, the wind, and the moisture overnight. Appendix D is backpack-friendly food for one-pot meals. This appendix looks at ingredient options for your one-pot meals. The list includes proteins, carbohydrates, vegetables, and flavorings that you can reasonably carry backpacking. Appendix E is one-pot meal recipes and instructions. This appendix shows just 4 examples on backpack dinners my troop has created and used often. The goal is to demonstrate ways the backpack-friendly ingredients in the previous appendix could be used to create a complete backpack meal. The hope is that you use these examples to build your own backpack meal recipes. Appendix F is meal in a bag meals. This appendix describes how you can prepare your own individual camp meals. At home, you place all the ingredients for your individual meal in a freezer Ziploc bag. On the trek, when you're ready to eat, the meal bag is placed into an insulated cozy. Then boiling water is added to the freezer bag. Then you mix, wait, and eat. These meals are better than store-bought freezer bag meals for scouts because they can save money, they can allow scouts to control the ingredients and the proportions, They can also help a scout learn meal planning. Appendix G is dehydration tips. The goal for this appendix is to supply you with some basic dehydration techniques. You can use this information to create your own backpack-friendly ingredients, especially proteins and vegetables. Appendix 8 shows an example of a backpacking trek permission slip. It includes some items that may not appear on your car camping permission slips. So will you step up to the challenges, the adventures, and the rewards that troop backpacking can provide? Let me remind you that the book Backpacking for Scout Troops is currently available on Amazon.com. Thanks for your attention, and thanks for supporting scouting and backpacking.